Thank you, Madam Chair, and appreciate the opportunity to come down and speak about a very important issue that I know is important to you as well as myself, because the Great Lakes are facing a crisis right now. The Great Lakes Navigation System is a critical international waterway that extends from the western part of Lake Superior. In fact, that point in the western part of Lake Superior is further west than St. Louis, Missouri. Further west than St. Louis, Missouri, the gateway to the west, and it extends all the way along the St. Lawrence Seaway to the Atlantic Ocean, a distance of over 2,400 miles. 2,400 miles, and this portion, this U.S. portion of the systems includes 140 harbors, 60 of which are named as, quote, commercial, and 80 as recreational and harbors of refuge, and over 600 miles of maintained navigation channels. The system can handle 200 million tons of cargo that generate and sustain nearly 130,000 good-paying jobs in the 8 Great Lakes states, not to mention what happens to our friends to the north and east in the Canadian provinces, and how important that relationship is with that trade that goes on. And while the Army Corps of Engineers National Operations and Maintenance account has increased by 20% from 1995 through 2012, the annual budget for the Corps' maintenance of harbors and navigation channels in the Great Lakes has remained virtually unchanged during that same period. Well, we all know that those challenges that we're facing as a nation financially and fiscally, but that, Madam Chair, does not seem right or fair to me, and it certainly is not an acknowledgement of the importance of the Great Lakes to our vital economy. You know, there's 18 million cubic yards of sediment right now clogging the Great Lakes ports and waterways, and which has reduced the amount of cargo shipped by over 500,000 tons over the course of the navigation season. To put this number into context, I own a gravel pit. All right, I have dump trucks that go out and around, and a normal-sized standard dump truck is 10 yards. If you're going out there, to put in context, 18 million yards of sediment. That would be like 1.8 million dump trucks loads of sediment that is out there right now. And in fiscal year 12, the Corps received $45 million for maintenance dredging and $95 million for navigation structural maintenance in the Great Lakes. But it's going to cost more than $200 million to restore ports and waterways to what their design depth and width is. In order to make up for that shortfall, the state of Michigan recently authorized over $20 million, state funds only, and emergency dredging funds to ensure that commerce, tourism, and jobs remained available in port cities, big and small. I commend the state of Michigan. However, the federal government has a constitutional requirement to maintain those interstate commerce through those ports and in and among the states as well as internationally. The funds that come from the Harbor Maintenance Trust Fund are paid for as a user fee of 0.125% on the value of cargo shipped. And in the previous year, that equated to $1.7 billion, which was paid into the fund, but only $804 million was used for dredging and maintenance of our harbors because the trust fund, frankly, has been raided over the years to pay for other projects and unrelated projects sometimes. But I'd like to thank my colleague for working towards a solution to this problem by reprioritizing spending, which is really what this is all about. We know that we have to reprioritize and reflect $1 billion disbursement from the Harbor Maintenance Trust Fund to the bill and encourage funding in the future. And I know that there's some specific language, and Madam Chair, had I been able to be down here, I would have offered an amendment that would have clarified making sure that the $30 million that is put in for small ports and subsistence ports would have been more clear. But in the meantime, we must act before the crisis in the Great Lakes grows worse. And I thank my friend from New Jersey for the work that he has done on this bill. And while I'd prefer more clarity, I'm satisfied with the intent of the committee to help our ports, big and small. With that, I yield back.
The gentleman yields back his time.
Madam Chair,
gentleman from New Jersey.
Move to strike the last word. And
the gentleman's recognized for 5 minutes.
Let me say to the gentleman from Michigan, I want to thank him for being a strong advocate for sufficiently maintaining his waterways and the nation's waterways. These ports and channels are very important not only to the Great Lakes economy but to our national economy. And I want to commend him to for his attention to the needs of his constituents. He's extremely knowledgeable from a professional point of view, and certainly as a member of Congress devoted to the needs of his constituents. The committee has heard from many members, including those from the Great Lakes, concerned that the administration's budget processing has left small, remote, substantive ports across the nation unable to continue to conduct business due to inadequate or oftentimes non-existence maintenance. These are what prompted the committee to include a minimum of $30 million to be made available to such ports. The Great Lakes ports will certainly be eligible for this funding. I believe our bill addresses his concerns to the greatest priority possible in light of other priorities, which he mentioned in our bill, which is obviously balancing the federal budget and controlling spending. I want to thank our colleague for bringing the concerns of the Great Lake ports to our attention. We'll do our level best to work with you. We honor your request, and I yield back the balance of my time.